Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Darrell Owens, and we are back for another edition of 101 here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network, and of course, airing on the amazing Bowie Television. It is Super Bowl week, or the week leading up to the Super Bowl, however way you want to say it, but it is, we're close to finding out who will be the Super Bowl champion. Super Bowl 59 on the horizon. We got Chiefs versus Eagles. We'll talk about the championship Sunday games, and then we'll just go into thoughts leading into this game, what needs to be done to win those games, all that fun stuff, and give you our final power ranking. There's only two teams left, but our final power ranking of the season. And then we'll be back next week to give you our run through on how the Super Bowl went and our season review. But once again, everybody, thank you all for tuning in for another additional 101, and of course, airing on the amazing Bowie Television and on Legacy Maker Sports Network. Let's get the party started now.
One, 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 one. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to 101 at Legacy Maker Sports Network.
We are here, episode 159 of 101 here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network, and of course, airing on the amazing Bowie Television. Look, we are here to bring you our Super Bowl preview, kind of get ready for the big game, and it's going to be another interesting one. Will somebody be able to stop? Will there be somebody out there that can stop the Kansas City Chiefs from winning championship number 3? Or in a row, the three-peat, which has been the top of all the talk of. I mean, this has been going on all year long. Well, since the end of last year's Super Bowl, from that point on, and it's just going to be really interesting to see how this goes. On Sunday, and to see if Saquon Barkley can get his first ring. Can Jalen Hurts, go back and do something that the 49ers couldn't do last year and get revenge on Patrick Mahomes? He'll have his opportunity on Sunday. There's two solid defenses going up against each other on Sunday. So, yeah, a lot to get into on that. But we're going to get through the schematics, or whatever the fancy terminology for that, and kind of get into what led us to this point and how we got to this point. Now, obviously, I am not currently down in New Orleans, and we were really hoping to see the Commanders down in New Orleans, but unfortunately, that's not the case. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into a lot of things and talk about what we have going on here. First, your boy's record throughout the playoffs. It has not been good. I have struggled, y'all. This is probably one of the worst records I've ever had in the playoffs. 4-8. I just was not hitting on anything. I think I got like 2 wins in the first week. No, I got 3 wins in the first week. 1 win in the second week when I went in Division 1 and 3, and I went 0-2 in the championship. And I knew it was going to happen. I blame myself for the reason why the Commanders and the Bills are not in the Super Bowl. I blame myself because I told everyone, including myself, hey, don't pick, just don't go with your pick, because you did it last year, and the 2 teams I picked last year lost. I picked the Ravens and I picked the Lions because I went with what I wanted to see happen. Now, if I'd have went with my gut, I probably still would have went with the Bills, but I was going to go with the Eagles. But I said, nope, I'm going to give the Commanders that chance because I know they can do it. And it was an honor to be at the NFC Championship game. But it just didn't happen. With that being said, Championship Sunday was definitely a series of highs and lows. If you were at the Washington or watching the Washington and the Philadelphia game, the way that game started off, was you saw Jaden Daniels and the Commanders go on this beautiful 18-play, 54-yard drive. They took up 7 minutes and 3 seconds off the clock, and the only thing they got out of it was a field goal. But you still said to yourself, okay, what a productive drive by the Commanders. Well, that only lasted for so long, because when Philadelphia got the ball on the very first possession for the Eagles on offense, Saquon Barkley went one play 60 yards for the touchdown. One play 60 yards for the touchdown. And I was just like, oh, wow. I was kind of surprised that it happened that way, but it was very, very impressive watching how that drive kind of unfolded, and just beautifully done. Then Washington gets the ball back. They fumble the football, which was the worst possible thing that could happen. De'Ami Brown got the ball, lost it, and then on a 6-play, 48-yard drive, we saw the Eagles capitalize and make it a 14-13 game at the end of the first quarter. So, I mean, it wasn't too lost yet, but Saquon Barkley had already got 2 touchdowns. Things were kind of cooking for the Eagles. Washington would go and score on a 10-play, 45-yard drive, with Washington kicking another field goal, and they were only down by 6. So Philly drives, they get down there, they miss. Then Washington finds a way and scores, and Jaden Daniels was able to find, Terry McLaurin for a touchdown. So that got Washington close. But then Philly said, no, 12 plays, 72 yards, and they bumped the lead right back up to make it like 8-point game. So from that point on, it's still 20-12, and Washington's in the mix. But then another Washington fumble caused everything to go kabuki. We saw Jeremy McNichols, who's been solid all season, fumble the football, and then we saw this Philadelphia team take advantage, and they would go on a 7-play, 24-yard drive with an A.J. Brown 4-yard touchdown. And, we saw what's my boy name? We saw Lattimore and A.J. Brown kind of get into it. It was a little bit of a scuffle, which is a lot going on in this game. But from that point on, Washington was able to kick a field goal before the half. But from that point, I know I keep saying from that point on, but from that point on, it just got nasty. And then it just was an onslaught of Philadelphia just being Philadelphia. And they end up winning this game 55-23. You saw the Commanders do something they haven't really done that much this season, and that's turn the ball over. They turned the ball over a lot. It was 4 turnovers, 3 fumbles, and an interception by Jaden Daniels. But that Jaden Daniels interception was kind of a little bit later on in the mix. So by that time they were fighting and just trying to get back in the game. So it was just a bad deal all the way around for Washington. And it for me, it was just kind of a sad way to see Washington go out, because the team that was in that NFC Championship game was not the team that we saw all year long. It just wasn't the team that we saw all year long. I mean, that Commanders team showed just a different vibe, especially those last 7 weeks leading into the NFC Championship game. They won 7 straight games. They won some tight ones. They had a blowout one in the mix in that way, but they 2 blowouts, or 1 blowout and 1 surprising one with the Detroit game. And they just continued to show who they could be and what they, I guess you could say, should be or will be in the future. We saw all types of different glimpses. But in that championship game, we saw a team that's not quite there yet. We thought they might be there, but they're not quite there yet. But they're on the rise. We got Adam Peters, who's got plenty of cap money this year. A lot of good things going Washington's way. And we'll see if they're able to, fix things with a very tough schedule next year. They got a very tough schedule next year. But with that being said, we saw the Eagles play probably one of their best games of the year. Saquon Barkley had 15 carries, 118 yards. He was absolutely amazing with the 3 touchdowns. A.J. Brown had 6 receptions for 96 yards and a TD. Dallas Goedert had 7 receptions and 85 yards. It was just well done all the way around. Not Saquon, but Jalen Hurts, 20 for 28, 246 yards and a touchdown. A lot of people have been trashing Jalen Hurts all year about his play, and he's come out and said a couple of times, he said, hey, look, you can say whatever you want, but I'm not worried about statistics. I just care about wins. And that's what they're doing. They're getting wins. Now, if you are Philly, you made a big decision at the end of the season and said, hey, you know what? We're not going to let Saquon go after the record because we want to push for the Super Bowl. Now they're here. They're in the Super Bowl. So they're partially they're partially there. They're in the game. They're in the mix. If they can win, then that decision not to let Saquon go for the record is going to look genius if Philadelphia wins. Now, they did make the Super Bowl, so part of it still looks genius, but it doesn't look as great as it could be if they win the Super Bowl. And there'll always be a little doubt no matter what for Saquon, knowing that he had a chance to do something special and break that record, because it's not an easy record to break. I mean, it's been 40 years that record has stood. So it's not an easy record to break, and he got real close to it this year. He was only 101 yards away from breaking that record. So the Eagles, they move on 55-23 over the Washington Commanders. Now, in the other matchup, we saw the Kansas City Chiefs take on the Buffalo Bills. Kansas City sneaks by Buffalo, and a lot of people would tell you, like, look, man, they played hard, they played tough. Some people will say it was the refs that cost this Buffalo team a chance at the Super Bowl with that Josh Allen first down that wasn't a first down that all the broadcasters thought was a first down, and a lot of people were upset about it. Now, it's a tough go. They have not been able to get the Kansas City Chiefs monkey off their back. This is their third loss, I believe, in the playoffs to Kansas City in the last 4 or 5 years. They just can't get over the schneid or whatever the fancy terminology that my man Chris Berman used to say. They just can't get over it. And we saw Kansas City go in there and do what they needed to do. The one person I want to give a shout out to, because I feel like he's been a throwback, and that's Kareem Hunt. 17 carries, 64 yards in a TD, and you'd be like, well, Darrell, what do you mean? Look, here's the deal. Like, Kareem Hunt had moved on, went to Cleveland, done some good things, but him coming back to Kansas City, he looks like the back he was before he left. And he's 29, maybe 30 years old, and what a resurgence for Kareem Hunt. He has been absolutely amazing in that Kansas City Chiefs uniform. I would be very surprised if they don't bring him back. Now, the thing that also surprised me is with Hunt being back is that Isaiah Pacheco has not really been in the mix as much as I thought he would be. He's been the lead back the last couple of years. I thought that he would be the man that kind of come right back in, but Kareem Hunt's been the hot hand, and he's been absolutely amazing for Kansas City. So I wanted to give a shout out to him because I've always been a Kareem Hunt fan. I know some things didn't kind of go his way when he ended up leaving Kansas City the first time, but yeah, it was just impressive for him. Worthy had a good game, 6 receptions for 85 yards and a TD. Mahomes' only TD went to throwing up the passing TD went to Xavier Worthy. And Mahomes went 18 for 26 for 245 yards TD with a quarterback rating of 111. Once again, it wasn't that Kansas City did anything special. It almost feels like Buffalo ran out of time again. That's what it feels like. But if you're Kansas City, hey, look, you do what you need to do to get the dub. You do what you need to do to get the dub. And Buffalo was right there once again. And I know it's gotta suck. For Josh Allen. I know how much he wants to get that trip to the Super Bowl, and he keeps getting close, and he's right there on the cusp, and Pat Mahomes is right in his way. Now, earlier this week, Peyton Manning kind of gave Josh Allen some advice and pretty much was like, well, advice, but, gave him some encouragement because he said, hey, look, he had to do the same thing with Tom Brady. And I think he lost to Brady 3 times before he finally broke through and got to the Super Bowl. So I still feel like Josh Allen will get to the Super Bowl at some point. Same thing with Lamar Jackson. I think both of them will get some opportunity to go to the Super Bowl at one point. But it's hard to stop a well-oiled machine, the well-oiled machine that is the Kansas City Chiefs. And until somebody can prove that they can beat them, I told people I'm like every year I'm going to pick them until until I feel like they truly don't have a shot anymore. But I used to do that with the Patriots, and then the Patriots kept continuing to just do what they needed to do. So I learned my lesson. Kansas City's amazing, and I'm not going to take anything away from them. I'm going to keep picking them until something changes. So next, let's go into the power ranking. There's only 2 teams left. So the final power ranking per se of the 2024-2025 season, the number 2 power ranking I got to the Eagles, or gave to the Eagles. The Eagles are a really good football team. We're not going to sit there and act like they're not. A lot of people thought this would be Detroit, but the Commanders were able to stop that from happening. This Eagles team, very young on defense, but very talented on defense. They still got a good mix of solid veterans in there, especially with Darius Slay, or Slay, I should say, because he doesn't like to be called Darius. I found that out 2 years ago when they were at the Super Bowl playing against the Chiefs, and then Brandon Graham should be back in this one, so that. You're going to get that veteran leadership going into that game. Graham's got a Super Bowl. This is his 3rd Super Bowl, so he will bring that experience. It's a big chance for the Saquon Barkley to really do some good stuff and really show off on a super national stage. I mean, we know who he is, but this is a good chance for him to really break out. And of course, number 1 in the power ranking, the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City's Kansas City. They've been phenomenal over the last 5, 6, 7 years, ever since Mahomes has taken over. I believe this was their 8th AFC championship game, 8th straight or 7th straight AFC championship game. It's like they get in the playoffs is automatic, and nobody's been able to stop them. And no matter how much people say, oh, it's the referees and oh, it's this and it's that. Hey, look, they can be beat. They can be beat. The problem is, do you have the discipline to beat them? Can you look past the quote-unquote ref situations? And I know a lot of fans will be like, oh, you talking crazy. You on the bandwagon. No, it's not that, man. It's just the refs are going to be the refs. But you have to find a way to overcome that. And it's possible. But you've got to find ways to win. And it's unfortunate, but you have to find ways to win games and take the refs out of it. And I think that's what Philly's going to have to do. Don't let the refs be a factor in this game. You got to punch them in the throat and see what happens from there. But even with that being said, I still have the Kansas City Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. I got them winning 34-27 over the Eagles. Now, this is the exact score that I had with them, quote unquote, playing the Rams, because I did pick the Rams to go to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs at the beginning of the year, and I was close, but not quite. And this was the score I gave, so I was like, I'm not gonna change the score. I'm just gonna put the Eagles in the spot of the Rams and and kind of go from there. But I think that Philly can win this game, but like I said, they have to go and punch the Kansas City Chiefs in the mouth. You can't let what other teams have done against Kansas City in the Super Bowl do what they do. And what happens is they let Kansas City hang around, and then they sneak in and they take the victory. Now, even in that game when Philly was up 2 touchdowns, but they slowly let Kansas City come back in that game. You got to punch them in the mouth and just don't let up. That's what you have to do against the Kansas City Chiefs. And if you don't do that, then those results will happen. Now, the only team that was able to beat that kryptonite was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady, which, look, Pat Mahomes was never able to beat Tom Brady. And unfortunately, or in the big games, he was never able to beat Tom Brady, and that'll always be lingering. So no matter how many championships, even if he gets to 8 or 9 Super Bowls, guess what? That fact that Tom Brady won those games over him and never let him beat him when it mattered the most will always be there. So that's going to be something that, he may not talk about out loud, but that's always going to be some type of determination. You want to be the greatest of all time. It's the type of things you got to do. But yes, if you're Philly, you got to go and punch them in the mouth. You cannot let them up for air. If you want to win the Super Bowl, you got to punch this Kansas City Chiefs team in the mouth and shock everybody on Super Bowl Sunday. If you don't do that, the three-peat will become a reality, and everybody will be already talking about a four-peat. And do something only one other team has done in the Buffalo Bills and make it to 4 straight Super Bowls. They're on the cusp of that. They can do that. This is a fully possibility. They are still a really good football team, well-coached football team. So watch out. On Sunday we got a dynamic matchup between good defenses and two solid, two good quarterbacks. A great running back and a really good running back. Some veteran receivers that are itching for a championship on the Kansas City Chiefs side. Some young guns and Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, who been there before, but they want that championship this time around. So many elements playing into this game. But the biggest thing is it's Super Bowl Sunday, and a lot of people have said they're going to boycott, not watch the game. Most of those people are lying. They're going to watch the game because they got to have something to fuss about, and it's going to be the last football game for 6 months, the last NFL football game for 6 months. So you if they're going to watch it. It's a holiday. But with that all being said, everybody, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in for another episode of One on One. Sunday is going to be a big one. We'll be back next week to kind of do our recap of the Super Bowl, see how it played out, and then we'll probably get ourselves ready for the off season. Now, I'm still debating if I'm going to hold off and do one-on-one and wait to bring one-on-one back for season 6. Maybe I'll wait and bring back one-on-one for season 6, or if I'm going to continue through. So that's something I'm still kind of up in the air, but we will still bring you programming here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network. Well, look, love you guys. Thank you all for tuning in. Enjoy the game on Sunday. At the bottom, go ahead, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share, make sure you check out the Legacy Maker Sports Network on all of our social media platforms. Please go over there and check us out. Check out our website, all that fun stuff. Also, if you get a chance, head on over to Bowie Television's social media pages and check us out. Check out the website at bcmctv.org. And of course, if you're out there in Bowie, Maryland, you're listening or watching here in Bowie, Verizon Channel 11, Comcast Xfinity Channel 77. Once again, everybody, thank you all. We will see you all next week to finish out the NFL season. And I'll have an answer to you by then if we're going to continue this thing or we're going to wait to season 6 in June. Until then, everybody, I'm your man, Darrell Owens. Thank you all for tuning in for another episode of One on One, episode 159. So y'all enjoy the Super Bowl. Don't eat too much. And we'll see you all next week. Until then, peace.
One, 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 one. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof.